Hey, I am Andrew Nowak, and I am a software engineer here at Integral. And I want to talk to you today about automating your daily workflow. We're already probably doing some of these things because a lot of us are technologists. But like seriously, let's get down to like figuring out how to like make our lives better. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about like why would we want to automate? Should it be automated? Let's identify the things you do frequently and infrequently, talk about what can be automated and, the things that cannot. And then we're going to start talking about, tips for how to begin automating these things. And we're going to iterate. And then I'll show you, I'll tell you about some of the examples I have in my life as both a technologist and in my everyday life to just keep things moving. So first up, why do we want to automate? Well, I don't know about you, but I like to get more time back in my life. I like to be able to get more done and feel more productive. Also, it gives me a bit of a peace of mind about making sure that everything's being done the way that I expect it. Because if it's automated, it's likely going to be done the same way every time. So for me, first question I ask is, should it be automated? The most important part is, does it have more than one step? Otherwise, you're just trading one step for another. The second most important thing is, am I ever going to do it more than once? And if the answer is yes, yeah, I wanna automate it. So from there, I start to talk about like listing the things that I do frequently. You want to look at things that have frequently repeated tasks, things that take a lot of time, things that are kind of monotonous, because these things are, error prone. Like you're going to make a mistake the more you're doing the same thing over and over. We're not machines, but you know what's really good at doing things over and over? Machines. And the thing that we can get into is just fixing and detecting those errors. So the more that you have, if you can find something that you're able to repeat over and over, when you have those edge cases, you can just start knocking them off. They become easier things to get rid of in your workflow. But the real elephant in the room sometimes are the things that you do infrequently. So inherently, they're more stressful. And you really don't want to do things that kind of stress you out or make you feel like you can't get your other work done. I avoid them. And that's kind of because they're cumbersome, they take me longer, and the less frequently I do it, the more likely I am to make a mistake. So paired with that, I tend to forget those things also. There's tips and tools like, you have a calendar and it reminds you. But, I think that'll be a tool that we can use, but it's not going to get us all the way there. So now the question is, what can be automated? I simply say processes where you can write out all the steps. Because if you know exactly what you're doing in each step, you can automate it. And the other thing is things that have relatively few exceptional cases. I think these kind of seem obvious to some degree, but if you can repeat this and get fewer and fewer of these exceptional cases, you're gonna be able to count these things out in the things that you do. So the question is, really, what cannot be automated? Well, creative activities. Anything where you are doing something that's really, unique or creating something new, something subjective, these are things that you really can't get a computer to do. I mean, people are working on it. They're PhDs and they're building AI, but it's not really gonna, give you the bang for your buck. So what I really look at are, things that aren't really done on a computer, but that's not totally true. You can still automate things that aren't on a computer, if you have a smart device or even just some dumb devices that do simple jobs. I have a light switch in one of my rooms that has a motion sensor on it, I only go in there once in a while, turns the light on, and then when I leave, it turns the light off. So I stop getting yelled at by my wife. So, little things like that can really improve, your everyday life. So the other things that maybe cannot be automated are things that lack an API. That's not totally true either. There's tools out there that can, capture the actions that you do with your mouse or your cursor. So if there isn't an API, you can still use a UI interface to capture some of those activities and try to work them out of your daily schedule. And the cool thing is like if the UI does change, you can just kind of re-record it, and then the last thing is, things with just too many exceptional cases. But at the end of the day, if you just, if some of those things are painful and they keep slowing you down, start trying to knock one of them off every now and then. So now we really want to start automating things. Well, how do we do it? Well, number one, look for some pre-existing solutions, because nobody wants to spend a bunch of time on something that ends up being, unuseful or doesn't provide the results that they were looking for. A lot of people have already put things out there. You have smart devices, you have all sorts of cool apps for your phones and for your computers that can maybe help you achieve some of these things. I have a sprinkler system that, it actually helped me program my sprinkler correctly, because I could never do it quite right when I was using those little buttons. So that was already automated, but now they've figured out how to get me out of it. Another thing is be ready to do a little bit of scripting. Choose some languages that you like. There's some really low-level scripting languages that will help you get started. Just putting in some simple instructions. Don't be afraid of thinking that you have to go in and do some complex stuff. Sometimes it just takes, a little bit of a jump start to get some things set up. Also, try to schedule some things. Like if there are things that you forget to do, you can actually hook them up to your calendar. So you can trigger it on scripts or other things. I'll tell you about some of those other tools, but you can just, completely say that you don't have to directly worry about it now. So that brings us to the fourth bullet here, which is really the most important bullet, which is the things that can't be, squeezed into those other bits. And that is, you need to isolate what the thing is you're trying to do. You need to sanitize it so that, anything that doesn't fit can be done. And then you need to normalize it. Keep those moving. Split out the things that have standards and do them separately. And then for things that are maybe a little bit more complicated, you usually don't have to change everything. You can maybe use some form of templating. A good example might be if you have to do a big mailer, you could have a list of names in a spreadsheet that goes through and puts all the names into something. Something a lot of us are probably familiar with, but it's a form of automation that'll help you get out of the monotonous, repetitive activities. So now we want to get down to the automation. So I've just compiled a list of different types of tools that you can use on different systems to help you get there. So if you're on a Mac, one of the best tools that you can find if you're not really used to doing automation is Automator. It easily records the activities that you do on your screen and helps you build them into those step-by-step tasks. You can also link it up with your calendar so that you can easily say, I need this to be done at a certain time every day, every week, every month, or send that happy birthday email once a year. And then the last two bits are, people that are willing to dip their toes into getting a little bit more advanced and saying, hey, you know what? I need to, I like the things that I can already do, but I just want to tweak a little bit, or I want to combine a couple of things that just don't fit together currently. Break out some shell scripts or some Apple script. Programming languages are at these levels are usually there to try to provide you some simple tasks. for Windows, I've pointed out a tool called Auto IT. I used to use this when I had to do some forms of desktop support in my distant past, and it's been upgraded since then. And it has similar functionality to Automator in that it can do screen recording of activities. But the difference is that it produces a form of code that you can actually modify and tweak in order to utilize. So you can use this for those same sorts of activities that you need to do regularly, and you can attach it to the Windows scheduler. So you can still do those sorts of things. And you can also, of course, trigger it through, PowerShell scripts. And then, you can also do these things in Linux. I don't know if I have any Linux people in the crowd today, but there's tools out there for doing this as well. Similar sorts of things. Siculix can do some screen recording and produce code for you that'll help you there. I haven't actually tried this one out, but I was doing some research on it, and it sounds like it's right up the same alley of the types of things you can do with Auto IT. So the next most important step is iterating. Well, you got to keep your list up to date. When you start coming across these things that are, bothering you or becoming problematic or getting in your way, update your list and try to prioritize like how important it is to get it out of your way. And then improve your automation. Try to fix things. Get rid of those exceptional cases. And lastly, share stuff if you really can, or if you know somebody that needs it. They can also offer insights into things that you can do. You don't have to be a software engineer in order to get these things or to help identify that there is a need. So lastly, just some examples of some things that I've typically done as a software engineer and in my everyday life. One of the things that I regularly do, or at least have made sure that I have ready, are scripts to set up my computers, because the worst thing to me is like, oh, my computer broke, or oh, I'm with a new client, I need to get everything set up. Well, I run my scripts, I'm up and going, within an hour, and I just have to add the little tweaks that are necessary for my individual client. Do the same things with like managing your secrets. You can keep things all locked away and make sure that getting things injected into your environment is straightforward and simple. There's lots of tools for being able to do that. I also try to utilize some of the UI stuff with doing, making sure that I remember to do my timesheets. That way, if I only have to, take care of the exceptional cases, then I'm a little bit better off. This one's currently a work in progress because I recently broke it, but it happens. And then one of the things I like is also making sure I manage version control, because I'm good with version control, but I don't remember all the time how to, reset to a specific point in history and squash all the commits the way that I want them. So, sometimes I just have little functions that I know that'll put things back just the nice little way I like it. Now, those are good for software engineers. They might not be best for other people in other roles, but some things that you can do at home, you can automate your entry lights like I did, just a little sensor. I have a garage door that has the ability to time its closing. So if I've left it open because I forgot, it'll close automatically. Another thing to stop getting yelled at by your wife. For me, also the sprinkler timer. I'm happy to say that my grass is actually green this year. I also try to utilize it with things like budgeting. I'm always on the lookout for things that just help to compile all my data into one place, so I know whether I'm actually gaining or losing regularly. And if you don't already do it, start paying your bills with things. Like, forgetting to pay your bills is silly. I think that if you can automate it, go for it. It's a better way to make sure you don't goof it up. I only point this one out because I still have fights with my dad about this. He just does not trust technology to do it. So he'd rather go to the bank and be like, here, please take this and send it somewhere and do it correctly. At least I know that a repeatable process like an automated bill pay is going to do it consistently. So I hope you got something out of this presentation and that you begin automating things in your workflow. If you have any questions, let me know.